2014, regulation changes, turbo hybrid engines, the start of a new F1 era. We had thrills, spills, and tragedy. 4 major lead changes throughout the season, but that's not the extent of the story. Many people look back to 2014 and say it was the beginning of F1's decline, but I think otherwise. Sure, I might be biased since it was my first season of watching the sport, but it was still a crazy season looking back. Let's begin by going over the teams and drivers so we know the key players of this story. Mercedes, the hidden startup. Mercedes had been a podium contender for the last few seasons, but were thought of as an onlooker to the title and nothing more. Driving for them was Nico Rosberg, who had been with the team since the beginning, and Lewis Hamilton, an experienced driver who was new to the team. Red Bull, the previous champions. They won the Constructors' Championship from 2010 to 2013, and had possibly the highest expectations for themselves of any team. Driving for them was Sebastian Vettel, the 4-time world champion, and Daniel Ricciardo, the Australian hotshot with great pace. Williams, a team who had been towards the back as of late, greatly benefited from the Mercedes engines throughout the season. Driving for Williams was rookie Valtteri Bottas, and veteran, though Williams newcomer, Felipe Massa. Ferrari, always consistent, came into the turbo hybrid era expecting podiums. They were never really in it, especially compared to their pre-2014 results, so the season was quite mediocre for the Italian team. Their leadership was very shoddy throughout the season, and they could have done a lot more with better R&D. Their driver lineup featured 2 highly skilled veteran world champions in Fernando Alonso and Kimi Räikkönen. McLaren, equipped with a Mercedes engine, started the season with high hopes but slowly fell back throughout the season. In each of the cars, we saw rookie Kevin Magnussen and expert McLarenite Jenson Button. Force India, a perennially strong midfield contender, had many successes throughout the season. They were aided by a strong engine and a strong driver lineup. Sergio Perez and Nico Hülkenberg filled in the driver positions for Force India. Both drivers were quite skilled and remained strong drivers up until today. Toro Rosso, Red Bull's junior team, had a decent season all around. They recorded many good results, but also faced many retirements due to the new engine regulations. Driving for them was Daniel Kvyat, a Russian rookie to the sport from Red Bull's junior program, and Jean-Eric Vergne, a 3-year Toro Rosso driver who had seen moderate success throughout his career. Lotus Renault, a struggling team who had no relation to the previous Lotus team, who had been defunct for many years, took risks with their era throughout the season that didn't pay off too well. Their driver lineup starred Romain Grosjean, the crash-prone Frenchman, alongside Pastor Maldonado, the crash-prone Venezuelan. The back of the grid featured Marussia, Sauber, and Caterham. These teams shared 2 points between the 3 of them. Marussia and Caterham went into administration before the end of the season, and both teams missed several races before the season concluded. In preseason testing, Red Bull looked concerning right away. The Renault turbo hybrid engine appeared to be a clunky box of sadness. Mercedes-powered teams made up 3 of the top 4 when it came to laps and distance driven. It was clear that a reshuffling of stars was on the way. The Australian Grand Prix confirmed people's suspicions about preseason testing. Rosberg won, every Renault power car but 2 retired. Both McLaren drivers scored a podium, and Toro Rosso scored double points. Malaysia was the first of many Mercedes 1-2s. Hamilton cruised to a win, with Vettel finishing off the podium. Nico Hülkenberg finished with a season-highest 5th. Bahrain was an awesome race for the Mercedes, and for the sport as a whole. Hamilton and Rosberg went back-to-back, swapping positions 4 times in the last 10 laps. There was fighting all throughout the field, with Sergio Perez scoring a surprise podium. China meant another win for Hamilton, this time from pole. The checkered flag came out a lap early this race, so only 55 laps counted, rather than 56. Fernando Alonso managed to bag the first of Ferrari's 2 podiums this season. In Spain, Hamilton retook the championship lead from Rosberg. Daniel Ricciardo scored his first career podium at this race, and Romain Grosjean got his first points of the season with Lotus. Moving down to South France for the Monaco Grand Prix, Rosberg managed to snag the win, putting him back in first place in the championship. Kimi Räikkönen suffered from a puncture that placed him far down in the pecking order. Jules Bianchi managed to get Marussia's first and only points, scoring a 9th place finish. Canada was a tough race for Mercedes. Both drivers suffered engine issues which allowed Daniel Ricciardo to snag the win, his first ever. Vettel scored Red Bull a double podium finish. This race was plagued by many retirements, with 7 drivers not reaching the checkered flag. Austria was looking like a remarkable race for Williams. They managed to lock out the front row, but unfortunately were overtaken quickly by the Mercedes drivers. Valtteri Bottas got the first podium of the season for Williams. However, Red Bull had a tough race, with Ricciardo ending in 8th and Vettel DNFing. Great Britain was Lewis Hamilton's home race. He won in remarkable fashion after starting down in 6th on the grid. McLaren and Toro Rosso had great races, with both teams scoring double points. Germany was a win for Nico Rosberg. Hamilton crashed out in qualifying, which allowed Nico to cruise around for a win by 21 seconds. Williams bagged a podium and Nico Hülkenberg drove a great day to end up in 7th. Hungary brought on Ricciardo's second win of the season. Both Mercedes drivers were screwed by the pit stop portion of the race. Ricciardo and Alonso managed to sneak through into 1st and 2nd. Ferrari scored their second and final podium of the season. Belgium was a tumultuous race for Mercedes. Spa-Francorchamps brought on a collision between the two Mercs, forcing Hamilton to retire and letting Ricciardo go on to win. Daniel Kvyat scored a season-best 9th, and Force India secured a double points finish. Moving across Europe to Italy, Mercedes achieved a 7th 1-2 finish. Felipe Massa scored a second podium finish, and Magnussen managed to score after a points drought. Singapore brought on a second straight Hamilton win under the lights. Hamilton finally retook the lead of the championship for the first time since Monaco. Red Bull finished off the podium. Kimi Räikkönen achieved a season-high 4th position. Now we come to Japan, the most tragic race of the 2014 season. On lap 42 of the race, Adrian Sutil spun off the track and hit the wall. This prompted the deployment of a tractor crane to recover the vehicle. Marussia driver Jules Bianchi lost control a lap later and drove full speed into the tractor crane. The crash was eventually fatal. Hamilton won the race under red flag conditions. Russia meant yet another win for Lewis Hamilton. This was also the race where Mercedes clinched the Constructors' Championship. McLaren had a great race, finishing 4th and 5th. USA was yet another win for Hamilton. This was now his 5th in a row. Ricciardo recorded his 8th podium of the season. This race was only run with 18 cars, as both the Marussia Ferrari and Caterham Renault teams went into administration and were unable to race. Pastor Maldonado scored his only points of the season with a P9 finish. Brazil was the second to last race of the year and was Rosberg's 5th win of the season. Felipe Massa managed to finish off the podium at his home race. This race was once again run with 18 cars as neither team was able to gather enough funds to return. McLaren recorded a double points finish for one of their best races of the season. The season concluded at the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi. This race was special because for the first time ever, double points were awarded. Hamilton won the race and thus won the championship. Rosberg started from pole, but suffered from mechanical issues and finished 14th. Felipe Massa and Valtteri Bottas recorded a double points finish for Williams. Red Bull had a disappointing race, finishing 4th and 8th. Ferrari capped off a season to forget with a 9th and 10th place finish. Jenson Button came home in 5th, and due to the double points finish added 20 points to his season tally. Force India had a great double points race, finishing in 6th and 7th positions. Caterham made their return to the grid following a crowdfunding campaign, and were able to stay on the same lap as everyone else. Well, there you have it. That was the 2014 season. It was a great teammate battle between Hamilton and Rosberg. Williams were somehow quite good. Pastor Maldonado was still a driver, and, most importantly, there was an overtake in Canada without a penalty. If you want me to do more season recaps, please let me know. Make sure to drop a comment with feedback and subscribe to my channel. If you don't like the video, Sebastian Vettel will spin on every lap in 2020. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna vroom vroom out of here.